Hello viewers, so in this video we are going to install this Kubernetes latest version. That is it's not latest version, but this is the previous version 1.32 on local Ubuntu server. That is I'm using Ubuntu 1.25, that is the latest version of Ubuntu, and I am using server version of Ubuntu. So in this video, so basically we will pick this release version like 1.32. So let's get started. So before that I can give some overview of Kubernetes architecture, like how basically what different nodes are available. Like in Kubernetes there is two type of nodes are there. One is control plane nodes and another is the worker node. So basically the control plane node basically managing this worker node, and all your application pods are hosted in the worker nodes. And there is several important components of the control plane nodes are available, like you can see, like kube API server, etcd, and kube scheduler, and kube controller manager. Like many these are the major components of the control plane, but this Kubernetes architecture part is out of scope of this video because I will cover in another video. So let's get started to install this Kubernetes version on the latest Ubuntu. So first thing is that this is the first step, that is install Docker, but it is optional since we are using containerd as the runtime. So we can skip this part and we can go ahead for the second step. So let me log into my lab environment. So in my lab I am using Linux, this one virtual machine which is configured with I think we need to configure it at least 8 GB or 16 GB of memory, but it is not configured. So let me shut down this machine. Now it's powered off. So in the system you can assign like at least 2 CPUs required, and in the memory section 8 GB is fine. Otherwise you can allocate 16 GB of memory if you have, then click OK. And I am using two network interface. The first one is the NAT network, which is basically used for the internet connection, and the second one basically when we are configuring the API server, so that time we can pass this host only interface IP address, that is the static IP address. Later we can start this mission. So as per this document phase, first thing is the mandatory thing that we need to switch off this swap space in Ubuntu, because otherwise it will complain during the initialization of the API server. So this is the important step. We need to switch off this swap space in Ubuntu. So to switch off this swap space we need to use this swap off -a. Then you can double check whether this swap space is disabled or not using -h command. Later you can check whether the machine is started or not. Let me log into this machine. Restart my previous session. You can see the IP address is 26. Now the machine is started. Then we can check like what is the IP address of that second interface, that is the S8. You can see here like the IP address is 26, and you can check the host name also, that is VM1. Now we can go ahead for the installation. First we need to swap off. Let's check whether it is swap off or not. You can see almost 2 GB of memory is allocated for the swap. We need to disable this one. So for that we need to execute this command, swap off. Then again check -h. Also you can remove that swap file also. To make it permanent we need to edit this file, that is the etc fstab file. That is done. You can also check that one. Also we can remove, if it's not required you can remove. In my case I don't need this swap space because it is dedicated for the Kubernetes cluster. So now we can check. Yeah, swap space now 0 MB. Okay, so now we can go ahead for the installation. Like we need to load some of the kernel modules. You can use these two commands like modprobe overlay and net filter. It's loaded. Then we need to create one file where we need to make it permanent. Create this file t command. You can check whether that contents is there or not. Cat command, yeah, it's there. So are this kernel parameters, like we need to IP forward those things and make it permanent. Also same thing, we need to write it in some file, and you can double check whether that configuration is written to this file or not. Yes, cat command. And to make it effective, we need to, without a reboot, we need to execute this command. Now it will showing this is true 1. Now we are in 5 number step. It is covered. Now the container D, we are using the container D as the runtime for the Kubernetes, so we need to install these packages related to container D. Yeah, now it's installing, basically related for the container D packages. Now in the step number 7, add container D repository using this command. Yeah, it's done. I think some error or something. So now the packages are reflected in the repo. Then we can update our apt update. I'm gonna install this thing so that it will get from the repo. Yeah, done. Now configure, we need to, this is the important step, we need to configure to use this group, systemd C group. Yeah, now the container is using that for C group as file system. Then restart your container D service, systemctl restart. Now we can check. You can check the status of container D service is running or not. Status. Now it's running. You can go ahead for the next step. Download the public sign key for the Kubernetes package. So I choose, you can see this is the latest version 1.33, but I'm picking the last one, like 1.33, sorry 1.32, and the current patch is 0.5. okay, you can see 1.32.5. the middle one is the minor version and the last one is the 0.5 is the patch version. Okay, so hopefully we'll get this patch version like 1.32.5. okay, let me go ahead. So till now we have covered this container D restart, this step number 10. Then I need to add this Kubernetes package GPG key. .32 I have selected. Done. Then we need to add the Kubernetes repo. Also you need to pass 1.32 itself. Now it updated this file, this k.list file. Then we need to refresh this apt update command. So once the apt update command completed, then we need to install all three packages like the kubeadm, kubecontrol and kubelet. This is the main component of Kubernetes. Now I installing those things. You can see it is space, it will take space around 350 GB around. Now we can see all the component kubeadm, kubelet and kubectl, and some of the additional dependencies also it will install like cryotool, CNI, network plugin. Yeah, it will take time to install these components. We are in step number 13, I think. Yeah. So once these packages are installed, basically these packages are like 132 package, okay, because we added this repository, so it will pick the latest one. Like hopefully we'll get this the latest one, that is 1.32.5 or 4, might be 5 we will get, okay. So it is almost 75% completed based on your internet speed. So another thing is that, yeah, so we need to give it command best to, yeah. Then when after the packages are installed, then this is the important step number 14, okay. So we need to initialize our API server, that is the Kubernetes. This is the main component of Kubernetes cluster. Since I am using the single Kubernetes cluster, single node Kubernetes cluster, so like the same node will act as like master node and the worker node, okay. Basically it is used for the developer to test some application with limited resources, okay, like 2 CPU is fine, also like 8 GB or 16 GB of memory also fine. So that's why I choose single Kubernetes cluster. Yeah, now it's completed. You can see it is, yeah, it is picking the latest one, that is 1.32.5, okay. As mentioned in the release phase, they mentioned this is the latest release, patch release 1.32.5. so we can go ahead for the next step, that is yeah, we need to pick the IP address of your machine using IP command. That is the second interface, that is the S8. So you can see I am using this IP, okay. So you need to provide this IP when you initialize the API server, okay, that is 192.168.56.26, okay. So let me go ahead and, yeah, 26 is there. Yeah, so when you install this API server, you can pass the additional parameter like a pod network schedule. When you deploy the application, then definitely it will pick this series of IP for the application pod, okay. So let me go ahead. Most important thing is that you need to replace this advertised IP address, okay, according to your IP address. Like I am using this host only interface, that is the S8. This the IP address is 26, okay. So I already replaced that with 26, okay. Let me go ahead and hit enter. Now in this stage, basically it will import lot of images, Docker images from the Docker repo, okay. For that Kubernetes version like 1.32 or something, okay. This is the stable, okay. They are saying like 133.1 available, but you are using, okay, I am fine with 1.32. Later I can upgrade that one, no issue. So basically in this stage it will pull, you can see lot of images are going to pull, Docker images there. So we can wait for those things, and once the image pool completed, then it will initialize all the major component. You can see all the major component what we have discussed just before, like API server, etcd, kube scheduler, and controller manager. Those kind of things will be initialized in this command. Yeah, now it's pulling. Yeah, so if once the installation is completed, then we can go ahead for some of the we'll deploy some of the demo application and check whether all the demo application are successful running on our machine, that is in single Kubernetes cluster or not. So before that, let me wait for that one. Also, one additional thing is mentioned here, optional one. So when you are installing this one, we are basically now we are waiting for the package to be downloaded. Okay, so if you don't want to wait for this one, then you can, before executing this init command, you can import, pull this images. Okay, kubeadm config images pull. Okay, and if you're facing some of the issue during installation, to clean up those, suppose this installation kubeadm init give you some error or okay something, so then that time you need to, before retry, you need to reset this one. Okay, kubeadm reset. In our case, hopefully will no issue will be arise. We are waiting for the installation to complete. So in this time we can cover few things also. Yeah, so once the installation will completed, it will show you some of the messages like this one. These are the configuration you to create in your local environment. Okay, like in your home directory you need to create this directory. All the information will be shown in the last phase of the installation. Okay, we no need to bother anything, we just simply copy and paste and execute those things. Okay, then the important thing is that we need to install the one of the network CNI. Okay, so for that I choose Calico. So Calico, the latest version I picked, like 3.33, sorry 3.30, and you can download this file and if you want to change something according to, there is some advanced knowledge is required to change the Calico, or the customize the Calico, but we can pick the default one. Okay, so now we can see there is a lot of progress happening here. Yeah, so now you can see, if I go ahead, and you can see Kube API server, all these things, etcd server, all are installed, and you can see some control plane is initialized. Okay, successfully, and these three commands you need to execute. Okay, to basically access from your machine to Kubernetes cluster. Okay, and if you are using multi-node Kubernetes cluster, this command is important to execute this one in each worker node. Okay, but since I am not using multi-node cluster, I am using single node, so this is not required for me. Only these three steps is required. Okay, you can copy these three steps and paste. Basically it will access the API server from the kube control command, client command. Okay, then we can install this Calico network. This is the CNI plugin, container network Calico. So I am using 3.30. so once this file is downloaded, then you can apply this file. First we can check. Now you can see one Calico file is downloaded. If you want to customize, then you can edit this file. Okay, so for me it is not required. Then you can apply this YAML file, kube control apply -f Calico. Now a lot of CRDs are applied during this YAML file when you apply this one, and Going forward, these steps like 17 or 18, 19, these steps are basically used in the VM and vbox environment. Since we are using this in virtual environment, so that time we need to pass this one, otherwise you will get lot of error during Calico install. Okay, so Calico cannot figure out which interface they are going to use, because I am using two interface. One is S8, S3 and S8. Okay, you should not use S3 because it is used for DSCP NAT network. Okay, always pick this host rule interface IP. Okay, so since we are using this interface, so we need to patch this Calico daemon set to tell them like we are using this interface, so Calico will use this one. Okay, otherwise it cannot connect internally among the pods. S8, make sure you use this one, S8 only interface according to your system setting. Okay, so now it is showing like this one is updated daemon set. Now we can check all port status is in a running state or not. Yeah, it will take some time. You can see the Calico nodes and the ports are going to initialize. We can wait. It is an init state. We can keep on checking. Yeah, now we can see it is moved to another state like container creating. Hopefully after few minutes it will the status will be like running state. kubectl get node is ready. Okay, hyphen white. Yeah, now we can see we are using the latest patch of 1.32, that is 1.32.5, and the node is ready. Sometimes the node are not in ready state. Okay, so how you can check like how to debug those things if the node is not ready? So you can check the event log. Okay, like this command. Okay, get, I mean K is alias for the kube control. Okay, K get event. Okay, then you can check if the error is something like this one, invalid disk capacity, something like this one. That time I have provided this workaround, like we need to restart this container D on the kubelet. Okay, and one more important thing, you can see the cluster internal IP is showing like the NAT network IP, which should not be NAT network. Okay, it should be host role network interface IP like 192.168 series. Okay, so in this case we need to apply some of the commands. I will show you that one, but in my case now it is showing the internal IP, that is the second interface IP, this one. Okay, this one. Okay, so there is no issue. But if you are facing this type of issue, like it is not showing the correct IP, that is not picking this second interface IP, then I have provided this workaround. Okay, on each of the node you can add the static IP, like in our case the static IP is 26. You need to change this file, add this parameter, last parameter, this parameter. Okay, the node IP equal to your IP address, then most probably to restart this kubelet service. Okay, but in our case it is not we are not getting any error. Okay, so it's not required. Also before that you can update the etc host file, like your IP address, any host name. Okay, that one is covered. So let me check the node status and the Pod status, we are here. Yeah, let me check what is the pod status. You can check all the pod status using -a. Okay. Now still one pod should be come up. The first one, Calico Q controller. Basically it is pulling lot of images during pod initialization, so we can wait for that. Yeah, so once all nodes, the node is ready and all pods are in running state, then we can go ahead to deploy one sample application and access this sample application also. Okay, this is the agenda for today, and I have mentioned a lot of like troubleshooting steps during installation, like step number 8. Also we need to remove this tent, because this, I think hopefully you understand this tent and toleration concept. So if you remove this tent, then basically it will treat it will schedule the pods or workload on the master node. Okay, the master node is act as like worker also. Okay, two tags, master work and also like as worker node work. Okay, so we can execute that also. Contented. Yeah, now we can see all the pods are in running state. Okay, and they are the system pods. Okay, like they are deployed in the kube system. Okay, now we can go ahead, kubectl get node -y -o white, all are in ready. This one Ubuntu 25, and you are using container D as runtime. Let me go ahead to deploy very quickly one. We are already, yeah, let me go ahead to install one sample application. Okay, I will cover this thing in another video. That is, we are creating one namespace and we are creating one deployment using the nginx image, and we are going to create 2 replicas of that image. I will cover this part in another video. Okay, so very quickly we are going to deploy this one. Let me check this pod status is running or not, because this stage as it's showing like container creating. So basically it's pulling this image, docker image from the docker repo, and going to create this pod using deployment, because we are using replica set. Okay, very soon hopefully it will be in running state. It will take some time, I think, because it's pulling the images. Parallelly we can expose that service using node port. Okay, let me check whether it is exposed or not. Get service, now we can expose on this port. When the status is in running state, then we can access this pod. Okay, still it's not in running state. Okay, so but we successfully completed installing this Kubernetes 1.32.5 on Ubuntu. Okay, so these are the additional steps we'll most probably cover in another video. Okay, let me double check whether that pod status is in running. Now we can see the pod status is in running state. Through this service, node port service, we can access our application, that is nginx application. Okay, so since the IP, we can wait 1 second. What is the IP? 20. We can pick this internal IP. Okay, we can use curl then your node IP, that is the 26, and we can pick this port number. Okay, that is, you are accessing this application using node port service. Okay, so now we can see the nginx application is successfully running and installing on this machine. Okay, like you are getting thank you for using nginx. So we have, in this video we have covered how to install Kubernetes 1.32.5 on Ubuntu latest version, that is 25, and we successfully deploy one sample application on Kubernetes. Okay, so this is all about your single node Kubernetes cluster installation, basically used for the lab for the developer. Okay, so thank you guys. We'll see you in the next video with another topic.